Hello, this is Colleen Shoemaker with the League of Women Voters of Portland, and you are watching the Video Voters Guide or listening to our podcast. We are here today to talk with candidates running in the November 5th, 2024 general election. We are grateful for the support of the Carol and Velma Sailing Foundation, the League of Women Voters of Portland Education Fund, the Weiss Foundation, and our media partner, Metro East Community Media. With me is Jeff Auxier, running for Multnomah County Circuit Judge, position 38. Welcome, Mr. Auxier.
Thank you for having me.
Please tell us a little about yourself and why you're running for this office.
Yes, thank you to the League of Women Voters for having me today. My name is Jeff Auxier, and over 20 years ago, I worked at a domestic violence shelter and quickly realized that I wanted to go to law school and become a prosecutor who specializes in domestic violence cases. And now, 20 years later, I haven't really strayed from that path. My current employment is as the lead prosecutor in the domestic violence unit of the Multnomah County DA's office. And I'm running for judge for a few reasons. One is that I believe that my experience working with survivors of domestic violence will make me a more fair judge. It will give me a lot of empathy, of course, for crime victims who find themselves suffering abuse. I also think it will make me a more fair judge for people who are accused of crime, because I know many of those people are survivors as well. I also feel a calling to be a judge because, in addition to having a career in public service, I've also literally been called upon to serve. And I mean that in the sense of my endorsements. I'm proud to have the endorsement of the presiding judge for Multnomah County Circuit Court, the chief criminal judge for Multnomah County Circuit Court, and the chief civil judge for Multnomah County Circuit Court, as well as some other community leaders such as Governor Kate Brown. I'm proud to have their endorsements, and I also believe my experience is such that I'm someone who can tackle the backlog of cases that we see in Multnomah County on day one. I have the over 18 years of experience dealing with criminal cases. I can take on a complex murder case my first day on the bench. And I also believe that I'm trusted by both sides enough to meaningfully handle settlement conferences where I work with defense attorneys, prosecutors, defendants, and survivors of crime to come to an agreement in their case and efficiently resolve it.
If elected, what do you hope to achieve if you're successful?
I have a lot of goals. My first goal is to simply use the experience that I just described to take on the delays that we've seen in Multnomah County Circuit Court since COVID. That's my first goal. I also have a goal to demonstrate to everybody in the legal community that I'm someone who works hard, listens to both sides, is prepared, and has read all of the writings that the lawyers submit in advance of the hearing, and truly has empathy for everybody involved in the court process, the lawyers, the accused, all of the above.
You are listening to the Video Voters Guide interview and podcast of Jeff Auxier, who is running for Multnomah County Circuit Judge, position 38. What are your ideas for refining the administration of justice in Multnomah County, including possible changes to state law?
Keeping in mind that I'm running for a judicial position, which means I won't be in charge of writing laws, I'll be in charge of interpreting them and applying them in the courtroom, I do definitely have ideas. One thing that I would like to focus on is the public defense crisis. I don't know if the average citizen fully understands how important public defenders are to our safety. If my office, in the DA's office, where I'm currently employed, charges a case, we cannot continue to prosecute the case and have to let the defendant go if the person who is charged doesn't have an attorney. That's a big public safety risk. So one of the things I want to do is efficiently resolve cases using my experience so that public defenders can take on new cases. Every single time we resolve a case efficiently with a trial or a guilty plea is an opportunity for that public defender to move on from that case and take on a new one. It used to be in Multnomah County prior to COVID that there was a rule called the 120-day rule. And that rule meant that we were supposed to get our cases closed, either with a trial or a resolution within 4 months. That has changed drastically since COVID. Now cases are 2 or 3 years old, and those people who are accused of crime are still waiting for their trial, or victims are dealing with the anxiety of not knowing what the outcome in their case is going to be or whether or not they'll have to testify in court. And I really strongly believe my experience can help us tackle that backlog quickly.
What, if any, criminal sentencing reforms would you support?
One thing I'd like to talk about in this space is the passion I have working on wrongful conviction jurisprudence. Several years ago, maybe about 3 years ago to be exact, I was one of the few prosecutors to stand up in the legislature and advocate for giving DAs more authority to undo wrongful convictions and undo excessive sentences and fixed sentences. I believe strongly that justice isn't something that just happens on one day at the time of sentencing. I believe that if it's legally possible, we need to check back in on our sentences and see if they're appropriate. Oftentimes, the attitude about a case changes for a survivor of a violent crime, or the health of someone who's incarcerated changes and they're no longer a public safety risk. Maybe someone was actually innocent and we uncovered new information that changes our mind about whether or not someone deserved to go to prison in the first place. To the extent possible, I would like to focus on wrongful conviction work within my role as a judge.
Thank you, Mr. Auxier. We are out of time. This concludes our video voters guide and podcast interview of the League of Women Voters of Portland, of Jeff Auxier, running for Multnomah County Circuit Judge, position 38. Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th. To find additional election resources, please visit the League of Women Voters of Portland's website, lwvpdx.org, and then exercise your right to vote. Your voice matters. Thank you for your interest.